Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with a brand new season and a brand new episode of Dust in the Groove, powered by Classic Vinyls. My name is John Ruiz Jr., and y'all are not going to believe who we've got in the studio today for this one. The American Hogleg himself, Mr. Lance. Woolie, put your hands together, y'all. Hi, my brother. We finally got together on this, man. We've been trying to set this up for a minute, but I ran a little too close to the sun and the flames caught my ass, so I had to stop and work on the store for a minute. But I'm glad we're getting back to putting the show back on, man.
Me too, man. It's a great idea. It's a good way to get the insides, artists' words.
Yeah, because a lot of times we get to do, the really cool radio interviews, but it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
So quick.
You don't get to tell your story, and
no tangents.
Everything in here, being in a record store, is about the history and how you got here and the story to tell,
That's right.
So, going all the way back, what's the first musical memory that you have, where you know for sure that music came into my life here? I remember this.
Oh, first musical memory. I guess when I was in Chuck E. Cheese, my daddy lied to me. They had these animatronic gorillas, and I was in Chuck E. Cheese, and they played a song called Woolie Bully. And my name's Lance Woolie, and my daddy's like, I wrote that song. And I believed him, and I just wanted to be like that. That was first. He was lying. He didn't write that damn song. But I set my mind. I was like, I'm going to do that. I really dug it. I didn't want to be animatronic, but I definitely wanted to be, musically involved. And, my uncle played trumpet for Jimmy Swaggart, and he never came and hung out very much unless he was going deer hunting or something. But, that's about all the musical side. My daddy sang in the church for a long time. And so I got to hear him singing, and, that gospel is a really good inspiration, especially in country.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like a rite of passage. You got to have a gospel album before you can have a country record.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've got a crossover Christian record from about 2004, so I guess I did it, already, but I didn't intend to do a gospel record, but it just, at the time, it just felt like the right thing to do. But, yeah, that's probably my first memory, musical. I mean, I listened to all kinds of stuff. Mostly you're stuck as a kid, as a prisoner, in your parents' vehicle.
Yeah.
And so they go to the store and say, you stay in here or I'm going to beat your butt. And you stay in there and you listen to the radio. Well, the radio station's already programmed, and they're all country. And I do remember my mama, she loved George Strait, and she wasn't a country fan at all. She's not, unless she likes some of the old school stuff. But she was she was enamored with George Strait. He was a good-looking man, handsome, and cowboy. And so she'd listen to him all the time. And I remember just in the tub, as a little bitty old kid, 5, 6 years old, singing the Fireman song and just kicking water up and stuff. And man, it's funny because that song's in our set list now. We still play that song. It's so good. And
oh, yeah. My Aunt Kathy that just passed away not too long ago, she gave me country music. And she was, she got every fan letter that George Strait ever put out. She got a 6-foot something cut out of him staring at her in the living room, and behind her chair is a Bud Light George Strait neon sign.
Right.
So I was going to like George Strait, or she was going to whip my ass for sure.
Yeah, no.
And I had no problem with it. To me, he's the king.
He's a king country, man. And but if you're out there, you're saying, well, I don't want to get into country music because I'm not as good as George Strait. Well, George Strait didn't do it alone.
No.
It takes a village to make a great American artist. Country music specifically takes a whole team of people of writing, producing, promoting, and also the stars have to be aligned. and it has to be the right time. And a lot of good things happen for George, but he also has a work ethic beyond most other musicians. I mean, every single spring he sits down at his desk and those writers meet him at his office and they go over the songs they're going to do on that record. And they did a record probably every year for like 25 years. It's a business, but there's a system to it, and, you know, George really got it. But he didn't do it by himself, and I know that Dean Dillon and a lot of these other guys had a big part of it. Even his producers wrote some of his songs. I think the main producer, I'm trying to think of his name, he just passed away a couple days ago, and he produced all kinds of stuff. George Strait's first couple of records, but then he also wrote some of his songs, and it just takes a team, you know.
Yeah, and especially when you're genuinely friends with other artists and you can bounce things off of them, because that's what hooked me on this album that y'all been working on, is these little 30-second clips that Corbin was showing me, because we were all working over at Brignac's at the same time, and I'm like, man, this is incredible. Like, I'm anxious to hear this, because I legit spend 14 hours a day listening to music. I'm listening to music all day in here. I listen to music when I go home. Like, I'm listening to myself when I'm playing. And those songs that he was playing me, I was like, man, this is different. Like, this is different, and I mean that in the best way possible, because everything on this album is 100% authentic. And the one thing it made me want to do was finally get in a room and sit down and talk to you and pick your brain and go, how did you come up with these wonderfully creative songs, you know?
Well, the first thing is we wanted to go back to the old way of doing things, which is writing good songs and doing your audience diligence. You know that you've got plenty of time before you do your record to make something great to give them, so that when they listen to it, you're not wasting their time. And part of that becomes, did you want to check something over there, man?
Oh, no.
If you want to raise your signal, you can. It don't bother me. But
no, we're good. Just make sure everything's running right.
Yeah, but I don't mean to be like backseat mixer producer guy. You hiring? But yeah, what were we talking about, man? I totally got my brain just got.
I don't know. You got me off track now.
About the record. Yeah, we went out of our way to do something that the old way, and you write good songs, and you find the right way to play those songs. And I might have recorded one of these songs 7 or 8 times, and each step you're kind of changing little things and maybe speeding it up, slow it down, finding the groove, and groove is king. And we sat down in the studio with Brian, and he's old school, long record of doing amazing work, and we just did it groove. We said, we're gonna, like, this is what the song is. Okay, now this is the groove, and we followed that groove, and it was like laying bricks. You lay each layer, and I told each one of the guys and girls that came in to work on the record, I said, just most importantly, have fun doing it, and that'll transpire to tape. And I think everybody probably had the most fun. At some point, I wasn't having fun because I was trying to hurry up and get stuff done. But you can't tell because I just retook that take. But it was a great process. If I died tomorrow, I made the record that I wanted to make. And I got the whole next record already written. There's so many good songs that we got coming. They just couldn't fit. We didn't have enough time. And it's like a tick and a talk. You got to, look, we ain't got enough time to do this song. Let's push it to the next record. And so we did that. Now the whole next record's already full. But we just wanted to give something great. And the writing has been just a whirlwind in my mind. I learned some new techniques in writing that changed the way I write songs about a couple of years ago. And I was driving across Texas, and there's a song called Road to Texas, and I wrote that song on this drive. But I was driving across Texas, And on the radio, I heard Willie Nelson was on. They were doing a top 20 countdown or something, and Willie Nelson was just talking, and they were asked him about how he had written these songs all in the 50s and 60s, like Patsy Cline, big hits.
Yeah.
Before Willie was smoking weed, before all this
Before
stuff.
Willie was Willie.
There was a clean Willie. And he said that the way he wrote those songs is he would be driving from one bunk country Texas town to another bunk country Texas town to play music. And in between these long drives and towns, the songs would just come to him. It would just pop in his head. And he'd pull the car over, and he'd write it down and write the song. Some of the greatest songs you ever heard. And after that, he got off the radio, and he went to commercial. He didn't come back, so I turned the radio off, drove another 2,000 miles. By the time I got back to Louisiana, I had 16 songs. And you don't even have to try. And there's something about driving a car where your brain is occupied on the road so that you don't die. And when it does that, it's a subliminal thing. The creative part of your brain becomes unleashed to solve the problems that your brain already knows you want to solve. That problems I wanted to solve is I wanted to write a bunch of good songs. I had a band to do it. I had everything we needed. I just needed some songs. 16 songs when I got back home. And there were great songs. Now, all of those didn't make the record. Probably half of them did. But the process, it's natural. There's something about the movement of the road. You let the things around you just kind of collapse into your brain. There's no radio. There's no distraction. No podcast. Nothing. It's just you. And then all of a sudden, I'm just like my girlfriend calls, says something. She's like, you got a bunch of bills came in. Okay, I'm driving across Texas. All right, I love you too. You hang up the phone. And then it hits you. Pulling off the road again. She wondering where the hell I've been. Stack of mail came in today. You got a bunch of bills to pay, but come here. And it just comes out of you. Like instantly. You didn't ask for it, and it's in a certain key that's comfortable. Then you put that in your phone. Unlike Willie, we got the modern tech. I just put it in my phone, save it for later, and I get back home. I usually write a song with chords first, and then put the lyrics to it. And that kind of puts you in like a box, a creative box that you have to make it fit. It's not impossible, but that's the way I used to do it. Now I got this hook, or I got this chorus or whatever, and it's sang in a certain key. And there's only 36 keys. I mean, there's 12 keys, and then there's the flats and the majors. So you got 36, right? So there's only 36 possible keys that can match up with this note of vocal that I sang on this phone. So I take that, and I find there's like 3 chords that work good. And then I work my way through it, finding what works for those things. And there's only a certain thing that's going to work and sound pleasant. And there you go. Now you got a chorus. And the cool thing is the chorus ends, and it brings you to like the doorstep of a choice of where do you go from here? Do you go to some of the chords you use? Do you go somewhere else? Do I something crazy? And it gives you this just new way of writing that's very exciting at the same time easy. It's so easy. I mean, I go pick up my kid from school, and I got a song by the time I get back, and it's I can't turn it off. And I'm very thankful for it. But at the same time, because I know a lot of writers have struggled with writer's block, I just want to let you know, if you haven't tried it and you want to write some songs, drive across the country with the radio off. And you'll be surprised at what comes out of your brain.
Well, every single song on this entire record that y'all have out it feels organic. Like every one of these songs feels like it was a story that was crafted into a song. And that's something that I think we're missing a lot these days. There's a lot of songs that are put out that are this is what this needs to be. These are the things that need to be said in this. So when you run across somebody that has all of these organic songs and you know that there's something behind every one of those songs, that's a great feeling because we don't get that anymore. But there's several of us around here that have that mentality, like, let's tell good stories with the country music,
Well, yeah, I mean, storytelling's a big part. Charlie Daniels did a lot of it. I mean, Co did it and did a bunch of it. I mean, there's tons of storytelling songs that are really great. I mean, my favorite is got to be Johnny Cash's Boy Named Sue. It's funny and how he did it at that prison show. It was just amazing. And we'd like to do a prison show one day, but it's crazy how some of the stories, some of the songs, it's like you got the story and like it was an accident. Like the Fishing Hole song, last song in the CD is really good. It's really funny. Don't listen to it with a drink. Don't while you're drinking something. You might spit something out of your nose. Just fair warning. It's really funny, but it was a complete accident. It was the end of another song I was tracking pre-production for, and like I just doubled the time with the click, and I started just kind of going twice the speed of that song in a different key, and it was just jamming, and then some stuff came out, and I'm like, whoa! I listened to it, and I was like, start a new session. Song, the other one never made the record, never even got to the studio, because you get taken off in this musical direction. And then I write this story-ridden song, and it's a very basic kind of bluegrass rhythm, and I bring it to Brian and Corbin. And Corbin is amazing. What he did, especially with this song, me, Chris, Corbin, and Brian sat down. And there's so many different ways you could do it. There's a bunch of different modulations in the song. It starts off in a certain key. In the middle, it goes up higher. There's another modulation at the end. And everybody's like arguing, like, should we do this first, do this first? And like, do you want to go to chorus here? Let's do a short chorus here, long chorus here. I mean, it's just so much stuff. Then we're all like in the room trying to figure out, but quickly, and we're arguing. And that's great.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you have this conflict, there's choices that must be made. And we got it, and it turns out that was a really great song, and it's very complicated to play the song, but it's I'll have sheet music if I have to, because it's just crazy. It's called Fishing Hole, and but that's how some of the process of the storytelling goes, and then the other part is just because you want to kind of guide people through the song, you're taking them on a journey. And not every song has to be a storytelling song, but it is definitely something we enjoy to do, because it's part of entertainment. It's not just a groovy song. I'm not just saying beer can in my hand.
Yeah.
There's something more to it. There's some depth to it. We're getting somewhere, and when we get there, you'll be in a better place.
Well, that's the wonderful part of the writing side and the musical side is, I feel like a lot of times these songs have a direction that they know they need to go, and it's up to you to channel it.
Right.
It's up to you
to
find it.
Right.
And
you can hear it all the time. You'll hear a song you never heard before, and it'll get to the guitar solo, and you already know what the guitar solo should be. You probably can't play it, but you know where it should be going. And and when people sing, there's a pattern, there's a frequency that which we can continue to lay on again and again. It's a reoccurring, it's like a long song that everyone is playing in, and eventually you touch on the same things that other people have already done. Because again, there's only 36 keys. So there's only,
and that's what I love. That's what I love about Corbin, and we're gonna blow his head up. But that wealth of knowledge that he has, he knows where it's supposed to go. He knows where you can go,
right?
And for me, he always helps me guide. It doesn't need to be too weird, but if we go outside of this box a little bit, it'll create a really good feeling to get to the next part of this song, the next section of this song.
Yeah, sometimes Corbin and Brian both, they will pull these ideas because they're also trying. They're playing on a lot of records, and they work with a lot of people. Brian got called to play at Madison Square Gardens, a few months ago, because some guy got sick. Look, and that's the level these cats play on.
Oh yeah,
and sometimes we got to tone it down, like it's too much. I'm like, hey, we're losing the groove of the song, and I might be wrong, but it's great to still have the banter and say, look, let's go here, and maybe we don't go here. He wanted to go this way with it, and we go that way. And I like to entertain what the other guys want to do too. And usually it's 2 out of 3. You know,
Yeah.
2 people say, "Hey, I like it," and like there was one mix on one of the songs, one of us wrong, and we sent it to Corbin, and we was like, "Listen to these 2 mixes, tell us which one's the best." Because me and Brian had an argument, and we had to settle it. And I was right, but I didn't know if I was right. Like it could have been flip of the coin. And making a record is not like making a record that's great. It can be quite tedious.
Oh
and,
God, yes, and it can be all consuming because you get into this creative space and it's wonderful and it's fun. But then there has to be, like you said, decisions made.
Right.
And it's like, then you start to feel the pressure because I only got one shot to put this song out. Like,
That's
once
right.
it's done, it's done. Once this decision's made,
That's right.
it's made. And you follow the
But
fun part.
You've got to learn to trust the choices that you made, say, 2 months ago. And we got into this at the end of the project. We were mixing out some stuff and some they wanted to make some changes on some groove stuff, and I was like, look, we've made choices. We sat down for 4 hours and went through this song, and we love that, and we like those choices. I don't think we need to go back and second guess ourselves, because especially when you made usually the first choice is most of the time the best choice.
Go with your gut.
Michael Jackson, not to quote El Hee-Hee, but Michael Jackson would sing, 100 takes, and they'd end up going with the third take or the first take, and sometimes, and what's his name, what's that, John Mayer guy, like he gets it, like he says, I'll sing it, and once I know I've sang it right, like I won't sing it anymore, because I'm just wasting my time.
Yeah.
Because the groove is weird. Like when you see somebody on the dance floor, when they get into it, if they somehow lose it, they kind of fade away. But like when you're in the groove is king, and that's all you need to really make a record that's great. And it don't matter what kind of music you're making, if the groove is right, and it don't matter what you say either. Lyrics. I mean, I know a lot of our lyrics are extremely intelligent, very deep, and we try to go there. But they're really not important. I mean, you have songs like Mosquito, Libido, My Burrito, My Burrito.
And here you go. That's a song that changed everything.
Right.
Changed the game.
Prime example, the song Tequila.
Yeah.
Groove bass. Don't matter. Lyrics don't matter. Now, they're great to have. And I encourage lyrics. And we go beyond the call of duty to write lyrics that are great. But at the same time, it could be the greatest lyrics in the world. If the groove sucks, ain't nobody gonna want to listen to it.
Hey, that is God's honest truth, because there's 2 parts to a song. There's a part that moves you, and there's a part that stimulates you thinking. But that part that moves you, that has nothing to do with what that song's about, what key that song's in. If the groove is there, it's there, and you can put anything you want on top of it.
That's right.
But when you can get the groove and you can get the story.
Oh, yeah, it's nice.
Oh, that feels good, doesn't it?
That's how they used to do things. They had a good groove, they had good lyrics, solid ideals, country ideals. You don't have to go out there preaching to people. We don't really get political. I think it's not really our place to tell people what to do with their lives. Everybody's different. And, I mean, look at Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Prime example. Not everybody likes Willie Nelson, but everybody likes his damn music.
Yep.
And so let's just, that's the way I kind of leave it. I guess whenever you get big enough to tell everybody that people to step the fuck off, then it can get like that. But I don't know. I found a way to really free up a lot of my time, and that was to back away from politics altogether. And I find that it's just freed my life up, and to be able to focus on the things that really matter. And definitely affected the music, because you don't get political in it. I think we said Corona once, but it was a reference. It was part of a joke, and but it wasn't downing for or against Corona. I mean, I guess everybody's against Corona.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a group somewhere that is like super pro. Everybody getting sick. I'm sure they're out there somewhere. There's a group of weirdos for everything.
I think there's a religion called libertarian or something. where they say everybody can get it if they want it. But yeah, man, I do. We do our diligence with the writing of these songs, and we got some amazing people that worked on this record that I'd love to tell you about.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. You got some,
number one
some of our combined friends on
is
there.
A friend of yours. Her name is Abby Lee.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I hear y'all
Miss
go
Abby.
way back. I see you on the comments on her when they go on Facebook, and she's scared when you're in the comment section. She's like, I don't know what he's gonna say.
Yeah, as soon as me and Abby met, like I loved her to pieces, man. She's so good, and I just had this big brother vibe, like if anybody mess with you, girl, you better call me, and it was always like that. But she's so
tell you what,
good to all of us.
She's a real winner, and I didn't know her until maybe like a year ago, or maybe a little more. I met her through some of the guys with the studio and stuff, and she has a little TikTok one day, and I saw her singing, and I was like, damn, that girl can sing too. And I was like, let me just see, and because I had a song I had written, and it wasn't a duet, and then I just kind of got the idea that maybe it should be a duet, and that was the Moonlight song on this record. And I asked Abby if she'd come sing it, and she did such a great job. She's got a beautiful voice. She's beautiful. And on top of that, she's like one of the most successful people that I know, like, in business. Which, for
where she is at her age.
She's got a potty mouth.
Oh, I was not there at her age.
But she's also very eloquent on the air. But when the air's off, she's very real. And I love that about her. But at the same time, she is, you talk about successful, that girl's running stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if she was running something, countrywide pretty soon, but for now, we love to have her on this record for sure. She really, a lot of people loved what she did. In fact, a guy that wrote another song on the record, his name is Tim Bartow. When he heard that song, Moonlight, he messaged me immediately. And he was like, I need her phone number. Like, I love this girl. Like, he was just enamored. And I get it. Like, she's beautiful, but at the same time, that voice, if you heard the song, she sings so good. But Tim is an amazing person with special abilities. You know how Stephen Hawking, genius, quantum physician? Well, he's like that, but about music. And he's in a chair, and he's got some mobility issues. But I saw him but he's got a super brain, right? Super brain. I saw him on Facebook during the quarantine, and he was doing quarantine karaoke. And he was just singing his heart out, man. Just like, just going at it. Like, didn't care. Singing like nobody was watching or something. There's something in there. And I was like, Tim, man, I love what you did, man. And I sent him a message. I just knew that because he was capable in his condition to set up a computer with internet access, stream. You know how complicated all this headache, this podcast could be. Pretty much same setup, And he's streaming karaoke at the same time. I was like, this cat has probably got a good brain on him. So I sent him a message. I said, hey, man, do you write any songs? And he's like, yeah, he sent me 2. One of them was about this girl you used to take care of, love song. And this other one was called Everything's Amazing. And this song had such a country feel of ideal. But it's from the perspective of someone, we're all here running around, all healthy and stuff. And he's looking at it from his perspective. And it really gives you a perspective on how good we have it, And that song had, I had like a hit number of each song as we were making the record, and each song would move up and down, and that song was towards the back, and it moved way up at the end. Like once that steel guitar hit it, that was it. It was like, we got a freaking song now. And I knew it was a great song to begin with, but like, it's like you're waiting on that right thing, and like we had done everything we could do. And then that steel guitar hit, and it just made it pop. And Tim wrote that song. I just it didn't have any chords or any melody. I just took its words, and then I wrote the second verse. And so we wrote it together. It's co-wrote. But it's a great song, and I'm hoping it does really well because I'd like to see that cat make a bunch of money so we could go buy him some stuff.
That one there, Brian pulled me outside, and I think y'all were working on that one, and he was like, "You got to hear this," and he told me the story, and I was like, I don't even think y'all had very much of it done yet.
Yeah.
When I heard it, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Tim sent it to me, and I'm telling you, in 15 minutes, I started playing with it, and
had it.
It was it. Like we had a song. Now you still got to go through. Like I had the what do you call it? The pre-production version, and I do use clicks and stuff. But then at that point, I kind of speed things up and slow things down until I find that groove, and I bring it to Brian, and then I don't want to waste anybody's time.
Yeah.
Like, it's expensive. Like, I want to make sure, like, is this really what I want to do? And so we brought it. I hope that ain't mine. Let's see. My car going on. We are. Nope, that ain't mine. It's alright. This is Baton Rouge.
Right, we're in the middle of town, man. You
speaking
lucky you ain't
of
heard
which,
no gunshots yet.
You know how Garth Brooks has a song, Callin' Baton Rouge. That song kind of creeps me out. If you really listen to it, it's a trucker calling this girl, little young girl, and he's on the payphone. He's at the truck stops. I'm not saying you just listen to the song again in that light, but we really represent Baton Rouge in one of our songs, and one of us is wrong at the last verse. Says, I got robbed by a gangbanger down in Baton Rouge. And look, I've been carjacked in Baton Rouge. I've had people pull guns on me. Look, somebody said I was getting seafood, or somebody, a buddy of mine went to get some seafood and they got shot at. I was like, dude, if you're buying seafood in Baton Rouge and you ain't getting shot at, you ain't buying seafood in
You
Baton
ain't getting
Rouge.
it from the right
that
place,
seafood
man.
ain't good enough.
No, you're in a part of town where you ain't getting shot at. That's not where the good seafood is.
The best seafood in Baton Rouge is absolutely the most dangerous part of the city. In fact, the whole riots we had here started from an incident that happened like right there in that little area by the seafood place. And it probably started over some mixtapes, but I'm sure there was some shrimp involved. That's some boiled crawfish. And you know how things go, man. People get rowdy. This is Louisiana. Yeah,
Garth Brooks is calling Baton Rouge, but he ain't necessarily hanging out here
that's
after
right.
dark.
But there's some things that I love Garth, and a lot of his music is great. He's got some amazing songs and amazing musician. But I prefer George Strait as a person because he sells the cowboy. Garth Brooks just reminds me of like a fat kid in a bunny suit, you know. But he's damn good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I am talking shit about Garth. I love him, but I'm a big boy too. And if I put on that same stuff that he put on, we're gonna look quite similar. But at the same time, like George is just like a cowboy's cowboy.
Well, George, there's this thing, and I always called it the George Strait syndrome. Is it doesn't matter what he sings. It sounds like he means it 100%.
Genuineness.
Everything.
That's right.
And he didn't write the songs, a lot of them, but when it comes out of his mouth, it seems like the most authentic. We're sitting on the front porch and he's telling me this song. And Adele's another one. She can do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a sincerity.
A genuineness.
Abby's got it too. And if she'll ever put out a single, yes, because we're going to call her out on that. If she ever gets these songs
she's gonna do it. The thing is, she's so busy. And that's the hard part about most people with the music is that you've got to find this balance between your business life and I had to transition altogether to do what I'm doing now. I couldn't do it if I couldn't have a full-time job and do this. It's just too much work. I mean, it don't look like it from the outside.
Oh, but it is.
But you just don't realize how much T's and dotted I's have to be crossed inside the process. And focus that has to be given, and energy. You can't get off work and have the energy to play till 3:00 in the morning every single day. It'll eventually get to you.
Or even to get off of work and go to the studio and just immediately slip into that creative fire is impossible to do. You get off of work, you carry a lot of that headache with you, and
That's
it takes
right.
a while to, and we know how to do it. We know how to get in the studio and get right.
Right.
But it takes a concerted effort to do so, and you still may not get all the way into that creative fire, but studio time ain't cheap. So you have to find a way to focus, just like when you're writing the songs, on how to create them and how to put them together.
It's a logistical
Very
feat,
much
for
so.
sure. And there were so many points along the project that we came this close to failure. I mean, at least 10 of them. I mean, so many points where we thought then it could all fail, and we're at the last point. I mean, I got 2 days left at the last peak. And once this peak is hit, like that's it. All T's have been crossed, records released, and now we can put it in hand, start touring and doing what we really love. And it shouldn't get you all caught up with. You can lose the mojo when you get caught up in the business side, but it's called the music business for a reason.
Yep.
And you got to be smart about it. And I've got a lot of help from a lot of good people, including you and Abby and Brian and Kendall Schaefer, another good person that we want to mention. I asked him to come sing on the record. He didn't have time because he had a big old hit. By the time I was ready for him, he had a #1 hit.
Oh,
Texas
dude,
radio.
I'm glad I got it.
And
I
look,
told him, I said, I'm glad I got you on my song before you too famous fooled us anymore.
And look, he even grabbed my guitar player and took him with him. And I was like, look, it is what it is. And that, it takes a village, but together, I believe we have our own little Austin growing here in Louisiana, like our own kind of outlaw, doing it different, but doing it right kind of groove. And it's not just at Brian's studio. Kendall goes to another studio too, but I'll tell you, there's so many talented people here that really haven't had their day, and their day's coming. And I'm so excited about it. And Jeffrey Allen Emler, who sang "Watering Hole" with Kendall, and they're at #3 right now. Jeffrey Allen Emler sang on this record. We did a song about marijuana called "It's 4:19 and I Got a Minute."
That is one of my favorite songs on the album too. I think I've listened to that about 40 times in the last 3 days.
Well, that song is a very indicting, monologic song to indict the big pharma and government that has always told us what to do because that makes them money. And regardless of the situations we're put in by following their directions and taking barbiturates, not obituates, marijuana all along could have solved these problems. 60 years we've naysayed. People were put in jail and ostracized, and it's not an angry song. It's more like a Margaritaville kind of party atmosphere, and it's a fun kind of a fun song. But at the same time, it's a message to say, hey, we're here. It's not going away. I know how country music has shunned on marijuana in the past on some artists. And look, I'll stand toe to toe with any one of them and debate anyone in any time, in any day. And it comes down to a simple point. If you could name, how many people can you name in the history of the world that have died from smoking marijuana, from Adam and Steve or Adam and Eve, all the way to now? How many people have died from just smoking marijuana, not anything else? And it's usually crickets. Now, how many people can you name that have died from drinking alcohol? I don't have enough fingers, including my own brother. And when he died when he was 18. And, that had a big impact on me. But at the same time, marijuana didn't kill my brother. And he always wanted to smoke. He called it Hogleg. And that's why the band's called Hogleg in the first place. Because my brother used to call, let's go smoke a Hogleg or whatever. And marijuana is not going to give you hopes and dreams. But at the same time, I'm tired of all the BS. Like a lot of comedians will tell these long jokes about how they're smoking weed and all these crazy, and you don't hallucinate on marijuana. I don't care how many edibles you've taken. You will not hallucinate. Trust me, I lived in Colombia when it was the kidnapping capital of the world next to Rwanda. And let me tell you something. Weed was $3 a quarter pound delivered to my house. We ate it like candy bars. And I tried to overdose on marijuana. I ate and smoked and ate and smoked and ate and smoked. And what happens is you pass out on the floor at your friend's house. That's what happens. That's what's going to happen. But all these other drugs, like these ones that get approved by the FDA left and right, you hear the end of the commercial. If you start pooping blood out of your face, then call your doctor. If you die, or the smoking meds, this is my favorite.
Oh, yes.
It's like, you're doing this so that you can save your life so you won't die. But if you kill yourself, call a doctor.
Right, yeah, like your asshole might fall out and you'll probably blow your brains out, but we'll get you off the cigarettes.
I quit, by the way, I did quit smoking.
Good for you, man.
I quit smoking on Christmas Day, gave myself that Christmas present. That was my Christmas present to me.
Good for you, I ain't got there.
I'll tell you what, if you're gonna quit, get you a good nicotine salt e-cig with a flavor that works. And you can do them both at the same time. And I did that for about a week before Christmas. And I was also sick, which helps. It helps you want to quit smoking. And I just quit because I started, the single from my record is called How It Feels to Be a Cowboy. And it is about the fastest damn song I've ever played before. Like, there's very few songs that are faster than that song. It's like 186. It's just ridiculous. Like, it's stupid. And, we even slowed it down. It was faster than that. But that song has so many words and so much crap going on that after, I was playing it live, and I was like, God, I'm out of breath here. So I was like, I got to do something. And so I just said, I'm going to quit smoking, and I did. And now I got too much breath. There's notes that I was holding out that I couldn't get to the end. Now I get way past the end, and I'm like, oh, where am I at now? Oh, that was supposed to stop like 5 seconds ago.
I didn't know I could get out here.
But it's great. If you want to be serious about your music, like, I'm not saying that you have to quit, just do it, but like, if you know there's something that's hindering you and from playing better, you must try to avoid it so that you can do the diligence for your audience.
Let me tell y'all where the Bad Cats play. The Bad Cats play up at Fat Cat Saloon, 17346 Airline Highway. On Monday nights, free pool, 7 to close. Tuesday, $1 off everything all day. 2-for-1 bombs every Wednesday and Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, live music, and let us not forget the world famous Blues Jam and Fat Cats on Sunday, 17346 Airline Highway, Prairieville, y'all. Go check them out. All right, everybody, we're going to give a spin to the Hogleg Band song that Mr. Lance was just talking about. Make sure to go see them Friday night, February 25th at Fat Cats. This next song is called How It Feels to Be a Cowboy.
Dumb and full of gum, shorter than my mama's knee. Saw a squirrel that drove me crazy, then I climbed up in that tree. I hit every unlucky and ugly branch on my way back down, and my daddy was laughing at me when my face slammed into the ground. He said, this is how it feels to be a cowboy. I had dirt in my nose and 3 broken toes, bit off a piece of my lip. I get down, but I'm alright. And if you don't believe me, I can go all night. 'Cause this is how it feels to be a cowboy. I got old and bold, a little cold on the wrong end of the lawn. When I jumped that jailhouse fence post, they came after me with the dogs. I was running to the left and rocking to the right when I felt the dog bite down. But something broke my concentration, and it was Captain Leo Brown. He said, this is how it feels to be a cowboy. They beat me like I stole, my ankle was swollen, and a spider bit me on my hip. I get down, but I'm alright. And if you don't believe me, I can go all night. 'Cause this is how it feels to be a cowboy. it feels to be a cowboy. I had nothing to lose. I was cruising for a bruising and my horse ran back to the barn. I get down, but I get right. And if you don't believe me, I can go all night. 'Cause this is how it feels to be a cowboy. I said this is how it feels to be a cowboy. Lordy mama said this is how it feels to be a cowboy.
Like, and maybe you can hold me accountable in a few years if I start smoking again and like, man, you need to quit, man, get back to the basics,
And
dude.
on that point, there's a lot of musicians that need to understand you cannot get shit hammered at your own show.
Oh, no.
Like, when I didn't start doing
be Blackberry
that.
Smoke?
Bro.
Let me tell you something. Charlie Starr don't drink. He don't smoke. Don't do nothing at his show. Some of the guys will have a beer, a couple of them. But, I mean, it work if you want. This ain't the 70s, okay? We don't have doctors. They can, maybe if you get on Garth Brooks level, they can, like, shoot you up with some steroids or something.
Yeah.
But, like, I want to do the diligence for the audience, too. And I play better when, I might have, like, a little drink, like, before the show.
Oh, yeah.
Like
That's
if
for
I
nerves.
need it. But I really prefer, I have a Tequila Sunrise, my brother's favorite song, and my favorite drink. And so when I put Tequila Sunrise, the Eagles song, at the end of our set, like on the third set or whatever, so at that point I know that like I can tell people, if y'all want to give me a drink, like this is the kind of drink I want, like instead of taking drinks the whole time.
Yeah.
And you get paid in bar too, and so what happens is you drink so much because it's there, and you get to the end of the show and you're playing songs that your band didn't practice. Like I mean. Didn't have on the set list, like completely different genres, and not even your vocal range, So I try to stay pretty sober, but at the same time, I am encouraging others to drink because that's the kind of if they want to drink, I want them to drink.
Yeah, we literally have a job where you're expected to drink most of the time for free. Every time you go
There's
to work.
a reason why bars hire musicians. And it's not because they're pretty, it's because people drink. Well, sometimes it's because they're pretty. I noticed
I don't think that's Kendall. That's not us, bro.
No, Kendall's more than pretty. He's like George, man. He's got the looks and he's got it. There's some of these cats, they just got the looks, but Kendall, man, he's the real deal. And I'll tell you what, I'm not going to start working out. I'm to compete with Kendall. I can't do it. I told Jeffrey, I said, look, like I know Kendall wants this bad, man, and he's been in the gym, and I said, like, I'm going for more of a young Charlie Daniels kind of look, and so like we're gonna go off in our separate ways. Kendall's gonna go towards Arnold Schwarzenegger, George Strait kind of thing, and
I'm gonna stay closer to Meatloaf. I think
Meatloaf's good, man. Meatloaf, macaroni loaf. But I like Charlie Daniels, and I like his figure. That's my castability.
There you go.
And I love Kendall, though, man. He's a good cat, and
we've got so many just good guys around here that we can all work with and feed off of and hang out with and just talk about these kind of things because we all understand the process and the stress and the pressures, but we also understand the fun parts, and we can kind of, like you said, keep each other accountable. Like, all the guys, Corbin and everything, like
sometimes Jeffrey Allen Emmer will wear a weird shirt, and you got to call him out on it. You got to be like,
all the time.
Jeffrey, dude, where did you get that shirt?
That's some sexy flip flops.
Is that a Christmas present from your mother? Because why'd you wear it? We got to be honest with each other.
Absolutely, because nobody else will. Like, they're just gonna tell you, "Oh, you're great. You sound great." But your boys will tell you, "Hey, bro, you don't need to do that shit again. That was terrible."
That's
That's appreciated because we don't get to hear that enough.
All I'm gonna say is, like, if me and Jeffrey Allen Emmer go on this writing expedition we've been talking about, y'all watch out.
Oh, that's gonna be killer.
You got some twisted brains combined. We just on the phone, like, it gets bad real quick, and I'm like, man, we need to sit down and do some stuff. And so we're gonna do that too. And you know, it was great having him sing on the record. And there's so much more stuff. I don't know how you're looking on time or anything.
Oh man, we ain't got nowhere to be. That's the cool thing about the record store. We do whatever the hell we want.
Oh, okay, cool.
Y'all want to take a picture for a roll?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna pause that and take a picture. All right, we're back talking about Jeff's crazy ass shirts.
Yeah,
And the brain that's attached to them.
Well, we got an accountability too, and I really believe in some of the things that a lot of these local guys are doing. They have records that should be charting, and are charting, and there's some amazing talent that's coming out of this area, and I really hope we can all continue, because we all use the same musicians, like, because of COVID, man. COVID, people get sick, and you got to have a rotator. You got to have, like, 3 bass players, 4 bass players, 5 drummers, and, you know, it can be daunting, but at the same time, I'd love for us to continue to keep each other accountable and stay close no matter how we are, because we can help each other. There's a lot of things I knew before I started this process that a lot of people didn't know about the business. And I had a good start. And then I had a buttload that I had to learn really fast.
Yeah.
And part of that is just doing your research. You know, if you get on Google and you search for a certain thing you're trying to attack, and you see some crumbs, and then you follow each one of those crumbs, and eventually you'll find where you need to be if you stay focused. And for the most part, everything has worked out. It's just slower than you can want. It's like you have something great, and then you write a great song. Well, it's a year and a half before you ever get to
which gives you a lot of time to
you know?
second guess yourself and everything else. That was the hardest part, was when Brian looked at me and said, "Are we done?" And I was like, I don't quite know how to answer that.
Right.
Like, we're so invested. I was, you know, my mind, body, and soul was into what we were doing.
That's right.
And I just told him, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go walk around the pond out there. I'm gonna smoke a cigarette and I'm gonna talk to Jesus, and I'll be back in 15 minutes, and we'll know if we're done or not."
You know, a big part of it is just knowing that your song, at some point, you reach in the mix where it's not going to get any better. Now you've got to rely on the choices you made in the months that came before that, and know that that's the right decision you want to make. And if there's something that bothers you, fix it now, because it will continue to bother you forever, as long as you hear that song. I mean, we did a mix on how it feels to be a cowboy, and we released that song first back in November. By the time he got done with everything else, I didn't want to stop him because we're such a slow process getting everything done. And finally we get to the end, and then I sent him the last mix notes for that song to fix that thing that was bothering the crap out of me. And no one else would notice.
Yeah.
It's not something that's going to make or break the song. And that's the thing. Like you said, you're running around the lake and you're kind of thinking about it, but really nothing that you do at this point is going to change the song itself. It is either a turd or it is great.
Yes.
Or somewhere in between. It is what it is, they say. So you have to just trust, and then you've got to, once you've got it out, you got to promote it. You got to go out there and play shows, and some people don't want to do that. And I would love to sit at home, but that's not the way to get new people to hear your music. You go to a place that maybe they're going for a different reason. They want to hear music, but at the same time, they want to get drunk. Some of them want to get laid. And they're all there for different reasons. And you've got to be able to entertain them. And if you can do that, they'll be a fan. And once you got them for life.
Yeah.
And it's also part of paying your dues as a musician, to make it to there. Some of these guys just jump up, like the Island Boys. I mean, come on, man. Like, when you got gold like that, it's like,
But like the ultimate goal is to get the people who are listening to you to feel what you are feeling when you're singing it.
Right.
Like, this is the emotion I want to transfer onto you, whether it be, this is funny, or this is sad, or this is, makes you angry, whatever it is, you love to get that back because
Right.
that's what you're putting
And
out.
you might not hit the target on that song. If you remember, there's a song like Working Man. There's 10 different versions of Working Man, but one of them is the best.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got the best groove, and it's the one that with that metal anvil sound in it. You'll know it when you hear it. And the way Merle sang that song, everything was just perfect, and all the things lined up, and the tempo was different. You look at all these other songs; some of them were live versions, some were studio versions. But you get in there, you don't really know. There's no internet to tell you how fast that song was, where you could just look up a song, 182 beats per minute or whatever. No, you just think it's that, and you go. Well, nowadays we can actually look at all these different tempos and say, well, this one is the one that is the most popular, and that's the one we want to play it in.
Mm-hmm.
And so just because you made a song that maybe didn't pop, like Moonlight, I recorded that song on another record that I didn't release. And it just wasn't, it didn't pop for me. But once Abby came to the picture and it became a duet, and then we brought it to these guys, we kind of played with the groove, and it has like a Tom Petty kind of groove to it. And this kind of quarter after one kind of feel, answer response kind of stuff. But you just never know. And just because it wasn't right doesn't mean that you can't make it right on another record. The other thing is somebody might have done a song that wasn't that good, that didn't do very well, and you could pick it up and do that same song and make the best hit that anybody's ever hit. Prime example, Dean Dillon, Tennessee Whiskey. Wrote it. Bunch of guys did it. Nobody could really make it a hit. George freaking Jones did it. Number 2. Couldn't get to number 1. Chris Stapleton takes it, puts soul into it, changes the groove a little bit. Not too much, but where it became his because he sings in a real bluesy, singy, gospel-y kind of way. And bam, you got the number 1 hit that Dean Dillon ever wrote. And Dean Dillon wrote 75 hits.
Yes.
For George Strait. 75 number 1s.
Well, Stapleton took the arrangement and the key from Etta James' I'd Rather Go Blind. It's the same music. And he felt that, and that was
right.
That was genius. Because I
sometimes
swear, I
you
think
do.
I played that song 8 times in one night in a row before.
Well, sometimes you do. I do a Patsy Cline song called what's it called? I Got Your Picture. And as I'm singing this song, when I get to this one spot, there's another song from the 50s that went a different direction from this one key.
Yeah.
And I want to go that direction. But when you go that direction, the next line don't work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to catch myself from going off because, like, you want to go, oh! But hold it back. Oh, and then you can do the next. Because if you go up there, you ain't going to make it back down to the first floor for the next line.
I know that's
and,
right.
Man, it's quite interesting how the things play out and how many. I see you got pictures of the Beatles and all these great musicians on the walls and stuff. Beatles, prime example. A lot of their stuff was based off of music that they had heard growing up, and they were influenced that may have been lost, that no one can really compare it to. But they also took each song and they did the diligence to make it groovy and make it right.
Yeah.
And not all their songs were the greatest in the world. I'm not the biggest Beatles fans, but a lot of the stuff that's been done has been done before. We're talking like painting, with a chord brush. This arrangement has been done 1,000,000 times for 1,000,000 different songs, and you know which one I'm talking about. Whatever chords, Bush from Glycerine,
Yep.
Glycerine Bush. Those chords are so famous, but they work in a lot of different situations, in a lot of different melodies, a lot of different cadences, and so just because the Beatles traveled in this area. I used to be like, I'm staying away from that because I know somebody else has gone that direction. Not anymore. Now I go where the song tells you to go. You go there. By the time you get to the end of your production, that song will sound 100 million times different. Doesn't matter how you planned it, because as people come into the studio, different influences, they're feeling something different, and you go with it. Then you go to build off of this, and it's this tick and a tock, and constantly you're growing and raising this thing. By the time you get to the end of it, it's something completely different.
And that's the wonderfully historic part of music, is you take what came into your life and figure out a way to take all the things that you like and put your stamp on it.
Right.
Like, Steve I, like Super Shredder Steve I.
Oh, yeah.
We got to talk to him at the Varsity when he played. We paid for the Evo experience where you sit there like this and talk to Steve I.
Right.
And he goes, I said, man, do you ever just fuck around and find something? And because he knows every note inside out, backwards, all,
right.
90 million scale. You ever fuck around and find something and go, that's cool, I didn't know that was there? And he goes, not real often, but when I do, I take it and push it out in every direction as far as I can. And then he goes, who's your favorite guitar player? And I had to be honest with him. I was like, Stevie Ray Vaughan. He goes, do you play like Stevie Ray Vaughan? I was like, shit, no. He goes, would you be happy if you could? Yeah. He's like, then you'd never be a great guitar player. You'd be good. But if you found a way to take what Stevie Ray Vaughan did and put your stamp on it, you would be great. And then he goes, with one notable exception, there's not one motherfucker on this earth that has ever played one note that sounds shit like Jimi Hendrix. But everything else, I stand by, and I cracked up. But that's what we all want to do, is take all of our influences and put our stamp on it. So you did a gospel album, and what made you decide to make this a country album?
Oh, well, back then, I was really young and dumb, full of gum, and I just didn't really have. It was kind of like I made a great record, but I didn't realize that I was like, okay, I'm done. Now I'm gonna go live my life and play this thing. But you're supposed to promote it and do a bunch of stuff. But I was really young and really dumb. But I moved to Colombia, South America, and I lived there for years, and actually married 2 Colombians, not at the same time, but I have 2 Colombian ex-wives. My daughter was born in Colombia, in South America, and I love the people. Like, I went down there, some friends invited me, and they were like, come stay with us, and I was like, all right, and I went down there and met these amazing musicians, and made some really good friends, and it got to the point where I wanted to move there, and I moved there, and I produced records. I had a recording studio in downtown Bogota, in Calle 49 con Septima, and it was we'd have all kinds of bands come over and record. It was rock and roll, there was fusion, there was mariachi. We had to do on a record for a mariachi group for a theater, and we did some heavy death metal. There's a band called the Decapitorio, which translate the head cut off room. And, just all these crazy time signatures and just different things. And really kind of getting exposed to lots of different music. And I got my second wife, we got pregnant while I was down there, and I realized, I got to come back to the States. Because, I had a recording studio, but I didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
We had, really cheap rates. Really good gear, though. But I had to make money to raise my kids, so I moved back to the States, and I just worked and tried to do the family thing for about 10 years, and when me and my second wife met, she didn't speak English and I didn't speak Spanish. So we just fucked all the time. It was we fucked like rabbits. It was great. We did, it was the greatest relationship era in my entire life, I guess. But eventually I learned Spanish and she learned English, and eventually we realized that we hated each other. And that, because when you could start to communicate, you don't know that you hate someone until they start talking.
Yes.
Then you know. And here we are, year 5, and it's bad, man. It's bad. We can't stand it. There wasn't a day in those 10 years that we went without fighting. And I had a kid, and I tried to keep it together as hard as I could because I wanted to do the right thing for the kid. But then I realized, like, at some point, it's unhealthy for the kid to see parents fighting all the time, so we split up. And that was the end of my Colombian escapades. But that was 10 years of doing everything, trying to be the family. And at the same time, while this was going on, I was working as a machinist. I made all kinds of things, blowout preventers. Not the one that Halliburton had. I made all kinds of things, valves and flanges and chlorine bypasses and sniper rifles, the most accurate sniper rifle on the planet. And I did all kinds of things. But at the same time, I would come home and I would work on these little funny songs and little songs and original songs. And I would just kind of track them and store them. And whenever I finally got this last divorce, I just said, okay, this is it. Like, now it's time to go back to doing, like, I liked making good money, but I hated the people that I worked for. Like, there was no passion. If they would leave me alone and let me do my job, like, it was great.
Yeah.
And it was great, but they don't leave you alone. And so it's really hard to work for someone who treats you like crap. And it was right at the end of this marriage, and we split up. She moved out. Hurricane Harvey hit. And I went to Houston to help with the flood relief. And we looked on the TV. They had 20 foot of water in Houston. My buddy, Brandon Cavan, who owns Gunslingers, called me and said, what are we going to do? And he's like, call everybody you got. Get every boat you can get. And by the end of the day, we had 12 boats at the Denham Springs gas station. And news reporters came out or whatever, and like we was out. We left for Texas, and we made it all the way to we made it to Lackason, and we stopped to take a break, and then we ended up making it to Houston. But all the other Cajun Navy, they were too slow getting organized, and they got landlocked because the hurricane done moved in and flooded the area between Lake Charles and Houston. So there was no way for them to get to Houston anymore. But we stayed out in Houston, and the first night we were in Houston, 4 guys died of our rescue people, and they got electrocuted. Because you're out there and the city's full of water, power lines are under the water, you can't see anything. Then we had to redesign our rescue efforts, and this process of this week that I spent out there just kind of was a good perspective for me to say, what the fuck am I doing? Like, with my life. I almost died so many times this week. It's ridiculous how many times I almost died. Like, I'm sick. I'm kind of bored with it. Like, why am I spinning my wheels and not doing the things that I love? And I just stopped, and I said, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I did some, film work for a while. I did comedy. I worked for Walton & Johnson for many years, produced 546 songs for them. And that was great, and it was comedy, but what I loved about doing that the most was that I was doing music every day.
Yeah.
And the best music that I enjoyed the most was the country songs, the Merle Haggards, the Hank Williams Jr.'s, the George Strait tunes, all of those were my jam to do, Willie Nelson. And I just realized at the end of that, when John died, John passed away, and the show was kind of going in an uber political realm, and politics really had bored me at this point, and I wanted to do some real music that will stay with you, And I've been doing comedy, and comedy's great. I don't down on it at all. There's a lot of great comedy singers. But, people can barely tell you a comedy song from the 70s or an 80s.
Yeah.
But everyone still plays Don't Stop Believin' at weddings all the time. Mm-hmm. And the longevity of being able to live off of the things that you create becomes really difficult with comedy. That's why Al Yankovic sold his box set for $500 a pop, because he only had a niche amount of people that would pay that price. But at the same time, he's not getting any airplay today because you can only play I'm fat so many times. Yeah. Once the joke it's not funny anymore. It is what it is. But music always motivates, always drives you, and I don't know, when I just being this non-serious guy for so long and being this crazy, funny guy and make everybody laugh, it's great. But occasionally, just like with Ray Stevens, you want to do something else. You want to do something great, make something that makes you proud as a musician of something you created, and also that can move other people and inspire them as well as you were inspired at some point. And it's been an amazing process. But now that brings us, that's how I get from this old gospel record where I didn't really promote it or whatever, all the way to now. And when I left the show, I started driving across Texas, and it was like lightning in a bottle, man. Like when I chose to leave the show within a month, I had fixed I found the new writing tool, and I had written some great songs before. Like, people like my stuff, but this new stuff is a whole nother level. And then on top of that, I run into by accident some of the greatest musicians. I saw Blackberry Smoke was playing at the Texas Club. I hadn't been to the Texas Club yet, which is amazing since I live here in Baton Rouge. But I hadn't been there. But Blackberry Smoke was playing, and I went to see him, and they killed it. And at the end of the show, I'm waiting outside to meet the band, just hoping I get to talk to them, like the geeks do.
Yeah. I'm usually out there
you.
Too. Yeah, like me.
You. And finally, I see somebody I hear, Lance. And I look over, it's Chris LeBlanc with his big ball shiny head, sweet rolls, man. He's like, come over here. And there's a security guard, he's behind the gate. And he's talking to me and yeah, he's cool. I mean, we're friends. And security guard, 15 minutes in of this conversation, security guard walks off, go take a piss. That's cue. That's cue.
It.
Make your move. I'm inside the gate now, hanging out with Blackberry Smoke. And then I run into Chris Roberts. Chris LeBlanc and Chris Roberts were there, but Chris Roberts is who plays bass for us. And he recognized me for some stupid videos that I made running for sheriff at one point. And we became friends, and I'm telling you, we were recording within 3 days at his house, and that's how it starts, and it's it just builds on it, and you're now I got guys that want to play, that can play on this level. Well, now I can write things that match up to their potential.
Absolutely.
And we started off the record. I mean, Road to Texas was the first song. It's one of the greatest songs on the record. But, as we got to about halfway through the record, I started noticing how capable Brian and Chris and Corbin were and what level these guys. I started doing some of the tricks that we were doing on the first few songs and putting it into the pre-production. So modulation and all that kind of stuff, taking into factor in all these different keys. Those kind of things really kind of make a record pop.
Yeah.
And it just continuously build. And as I got to each little checkpoint, that I needed to attack and address, we were able to accomplish everything and beyond what you expected it to be, as far as the level is concerned. Some of the stuff, I was just man, I can't believe how great a certain song came out. And this is a song I recorded, Mama. I recorded that song probably 10 times over the past 20 years. I translated it from Spanish. I wrote the first verse. I wrote it, and it's more like Louisiana because it was a Spanish song. Louisiana has a Spanish history. And so I threw in a Spanish voodoo lady, Cajun voodoo lady, just because... that just sounds cool.
Yeah.
and really, it gave the kind of perspective of the song the believability that you could walk down in the swamp, run into some high-ass chick, she put a spell on you. That I believe.
I've been down to Fouchon a few times. That's almost happened.
You could talk about beer in your truck and driving through a cane field all day long. I don't know how good of a truck you got. And I don't know if there's any cane fields up in Wisconsin, but I'm damn sure there's a fucking Cajun Spanish voodoo lady that'll put a spell on your ass in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it might be a spell that takes penicillin to get rid of, but you'll get a spell put on you down there.
I ain't worried about none of that stuff, man. I'll tell you what, there's a verse in Road to Texas says, I got to move around, catch any fish that ever swam in the sea.
Yes, indeed.
And the next line is something John Walton said to his wife, his last wife, Lainey, who I'm very good friends with now. And he said, if you'll take my hand in marriage, I'll leave my wife tonight.
I remember hearing that. That was awesome.
And man, that's a solid. That's some truth right there. And even putting this stuff on the record, the marijuana, this kind of debauchery stuff is risky because let me tell you something. Over in Texas, there's a lot of Bible thumping radio stations that won't play your stuff if they find. And look, I'm a gambler, and if you guys don't want to play it, so okay, go ahead.
Well, I get that because when we went first day with Brian, he said, "Who's your target audience for this song?" And I was like, "Me. I want to love it. If we can accomplish that,
right.
The rest, what happens?
Well,
what
especially
happens."
because you've come from such a musically influenced background. I mean, you freaking run a record store, so you're not going to run a record store unless you know a lot about records.
You got to love music,
right? And the more you do it, the more you know what is good. The more you know what is great, and you can almost tell. And if you are not impressed, then it's probably not that good. And if you are impressed, then it's probably pretty good. Other people probably will come and say the same thing to you. Because
brother, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, not one little bit. I was thoroughly impressed by this album.
Thank you, man.
The flow of it, because it felt like an album. A lot of albums don't. It's single, whatever. Just that whole thing flows, man. When is the physical release for it?
It's physically on the way.
Okay.
There's some in them. I don't know if they FedExed them. Okay, I checked it yesterday. Every damn thing in the checklist on the replication had been done. All of the books had been printed. Everything has been done. There was one thing that said hadn't started yet, and it said it was the label printing on. They had already burned the glass mastered and everything, stamped or whatever, but they didn't print the paint, the logo on the CD yet. That, and the last thing it said the silicone wrap or whatever, and I was like, yeah, it's got to be last, obviously. So and that was yesterday, so that may have changed. But, they're going to FedEx me some stuff so we can have them for our show. We got a show on the 25th, Friday. That's next Friday. Not this Friday, but next Friday at Fat Cat Saloon. And Landon over there did me a real good favor and gave me a shot. I went up there on their... They have this open mic thing.
Yeah, everybody knows the open mic.
It is not anything like you would ever expect. When you say the words open mic, throw the words open mic out of your brain and think... all the greatest musicians in the state of Louisiana.
It's a fucking all-star show.
Coming to jam out every single Sunday night. And nobody knows about it, but when I saw it, and I get up there with them, and these are guys never played with me before. What do y'all want to play? What key is it in? Okay, and we start playing, and it's so much fun, and, big people. Jonathan Boogie Long come step on the stage with you, or after you. You never know. And I went up there and with my guitar, and I played some songs, and Landon's like, I want to book you for a gig. So he booked me for a gig that first night. And then I've been going there pretty much every week that I can, and to get my stage, what do you call it? Your stage mojo?
Yeah.
And that's where I met Shane, our guitar player. And basically, I'll send Shane 6 songs. We'd play 6, and then that's the next one we practice. And we've been doing that for months to build up this 4-hour set list of stuff. And there's still stuff I got to add. I build a chord sheet for everybody, and so everybody knows what key it's in, and so I know what key it's in, and all that kind of stuff. Whether or not it has a capo and just get it all organized so that when we get up on stage, we're there to rock it,
Yeah.
And I have such a good time doing it, man. It's so much fun, and Shane did such a great job, and now really the pieces are going together. We got another big show. They got Fat Cats on the 25th of February, and that's a Friday night, 8. Doors open early. I think it's 9 to 12 or something. And then we have another show March 26th in Texas at the Zapp Hall Antique Show, and that's going to be the first full band show.
Right on.
And it's so crazy because everybody's so busy, and it's in Texas. So you got to convince some guys over here to come with you on these gigs. And sometimes, look, when you start off in the country music big, you ain't getting paid when George Strait's coming.
Yeah.
And look, you got to be willing to accept it. There's a song called Chasing That Neon Rainbow. One of my favorite songs. It's in our set list. And
yeah.
I love it. And there's one spot I almost cry every time. Most of the time I sing for free. And he's talking about we're going to Texas, Houston. We're playing this gig. I don't know where Alan was from, but it sure as hell wasn't Texas. It's probably far away. Got to drive all the way there. You ain't got no place to stay. So I got to take my money to make sure the band has a place to stay. I don't care. This is my dream. This is what I want to do.
Absolutely.
Now,
I'm the same exact way.
And so if it is what it is, and if you're not willing to go that route, then you probably shouldn't be doing the music. And I'm not saying that you can't. You could Billie Eilish this stuff in a heartbeat. Like, if you got the goods, you got the goods. But some of us, we're not Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yes.
You know, I'm not Jimi Hendrix. But I have to make up for it with hard work because, you know, and there's the things that I don't do well. And look, Jimmy wasn't just a talented. He worked his ass off to get to where he was at.
And that's the part people don't realize, how much effort goes into this.
And you got to make time. I mean, I can tell you this. There's plenty of times when I was in my working days where I got fired or lost my job or something. And I had all the free time in the world. Couldn't write anything. Barely, you know, maybe one song every couple of weeks or something. Nothing, not a whole lot. And it's because you weren't, your mind's not prepared for it, and you're not setting aside time for it. And you have to say, okay, I know I got nothing to do today, but these are some things I want to get done. And so if I want to get to that point, I've got to get those steps completed. And if that means getting the chords for a certain thing, then get it. You have to make time. If you don't make time, you'll never make history. And every time I go in that studio, let's go make history. And when you're in that studio, don't be scared at all. There's no point in being scared. There's absolutely no point. You have to give your all. You got to say, I'm going to sing like Adele would sing. I'm going to put Adele-level vocals on this thing. Or I'm going to lay the guitar like Charlie Starr.
You walk in that booth like there's 10,000 people cheering.
That's right.
That's the only way to get it out of you.
Because really, in honesty, there's a million people freaking listening. And think about it like as if if you die, like this is the last song you're ever going to record. And I say a lot of times, I do that to myself. I'm like, it's the last thing you're ever going to do. Do it. And sometimes it gets me in the mode to kind of change my, get my vocal right or whatever. But you just gotta tell yourself you can do it, believe in it, and do it. And you're not always gonna do the great. Like out of those 546 songs I did for Walton and Johnson, maybe only 150 of them were hits. That means I did 328 songs that sucked. And there's different reasons why they suck, and I know those reasons. And now I'm capable of recognizing certain things ahead of time. Now, those songs were comedy songs. They're not really apples to apples to this kind of music, but the same kind of idea is like the more you get up to the plate to swing, the more home runs you're going to hit. If you're scared to get up to the plate, you ain't never going to hit a home run if you can't get to the plate. Get to the plate, strike out a few times. It's fine. Eventually, on a long enough timeline, you're going to knock one out of the park. And then you might see a pattern and be able to attach that and create a workflow that's healthy for you. And I've been really blessed with it. Like I'm telling you, there's so many good songs just keep coming. I just ain't got the money to produce them right now.
Yeah.
But we gonna get it. Like we're right at the precipice. We're doing a humongous push into Texas radio and Louisiana radio starting in a week or so. We got a giant, I don't want to name them, but a humongous magazine company that does country music now, or does country music specifically, and they review records, and we have been added to their Spotify playlist, Top 25, and I think they're going to do some reviews for us. once we got that back, we're going to go ahead and drop this How It Feels. I mean, you can get it now, but it's going to start playing on the radio stations everywhere. And then we'll be able to get more shows, and then we can play them, not for a lot of money at first, of course, that's the way it goes, we talked about this, but when you get these shows, you get the new fans, and these fans, when they become a fan, they buy everything. They buy your CD, they buy your bracelets, they buy your keychains, they buy your shirts, because they love you, and you love them, and that's how it works.
Well, dude, I'm going to tell you what, you've got a massive fan in me, and anything that I can do to help promote this album.
You want to buy a shirt?
Yeah, I definitely want a shirt, dude. I definitely want a shirt. And I'm down to an XL for the first time in years and years.
I happen to have an XL on, man. If you want to swap shirts, I'll just give you this.
Right on. I'm glad this isn't on video. I'm glad this.
Oh, nobody wants to see that. Mama always said I had boobs for radio.
Me too. I took a video of myself playing something today on that little 3-string guitar, and I was like, oh, well, that's not attractive at all, man. Well, tell everybody the name of the album, and we're going to have this album here at Classic Vinyls.
That's right. We're going to do when they hit my hands, the day they hit my hands, I'm going to drive my fat ass over here. And I'm going to go live, and then we're going to tell everybody that they can come get them here.
Yes, indeed.
Because that's what you got to do. We need to go back to the old school way of doing things, which is don't let Amazon or iTunes decide what you get to listen to. You see, when you buy a song for $1 on iTunes, 50 cents of that dollar goes to Apple, and the other 50 cents people fight over that on your distribution end. When you go to our website, hoglegband.com, you buy a song or you buy the record, all that money comes to us except for some of the fees, credit card fees and stuff. But it don't all go to these other people who don't do anything.
Exactly.
Apple does nothing. And they want to control it. And it's called Hogleg Band. The record's called Country Paradise. 13 songs, 46 minutes. Amazing honky-tonk music. And a couple of songs that, like the Eagles went out there on some stuff.
Yeah.
That got played on the rock and roll station. And it's all original. Every single song was either written by me completely. I think it was 10 of them I wrote myself, and there's 3 that I co-wrote. 2 that I translated, and 1 I co-wrote with Tim. But the rest of them I wrote, and this is a Louisiana product right here. And I want to implore you to check it out. You can get it on Spotify. You can listen to it right now. You can buy it on our website. You can come see us live. That's all this stuff. We want to interact with you. Follow our Facebook page, Hogleg Band. And thank you for listening to this long-winded, drawn-out explanation of why the hell I'm here.
Well, you're here because you're badass, man, and we appreciate you coming out here and doing this with us. I got one more question for you, and we're going to wrap it up. If aliens landed and said, who in the hell is Lance Woolie? Give me 3 songs that you would hand them and go, this is who I am.
Oh, 3 songs. I was going to say, I'd say, take me with you. Let's go. I got a pick list of some shit I want to see. All right. First of all, I want to take a big-ass look at Uranus. A real close look at Uranus. But before we do that, on the way, we're going to listen to some good music. Are you talking about my songs? Or
It can be either. It can be, this is the 3 songs that make me who the fuck I am.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's a song on this record called Miss You. And I think it's the best song I ever wrote. And, you were talking earlier about all these great men in country music that we know. But behind every single one of them is an even stronger woman.
Amen.
Let's give it up for Brittany. For putting up with Mr. Kendall.
Yes, indeed.
Because, look, it's hard. And my girlfriend, a longtime girlfriend, Heather, during the process of this record, she got cancer.
Oh,
and
damn.
We're about halfway through the record. And I wrote this song, I Miss You, when I was in Texas. But I wrote it like I'm away from you, kind of, I miss you. But like a month later, she had cancer. And we get into the studio to record it, and it changes the meaning of the song completely. I wrote it in that sense, but Now it meant like somebody had passed. And she had a double mastectomy. They removed both of her breasts, and they did remove the cancer. And she's getting she recovered, and she's doing better. Her spirits are high, and she's about to get some new boobs. So she's going to be happy. And because women love boobs, they like having boobs. And, look, it's a big deal.
We're a fan of them, too. I mean,
imagine you having to walk around without your willy, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a part of you that you're going to really miss. But it also made us stronger and help us to really kind of appreciate what we have. And we pushed through it. We didn't know what was going to happen. And we just pushed through it, and we kept positive. And now she's cancer free, and we're moving ahead. But behind all this project, I have a great woman who supported me, and I don't publicly talk about her a whole lot because I come from a past where I had a lot of people attacking. Like when you're on Facebook, people will attack your kids and your family members, and so I try not. I don't even wish people happy birthday anymore. I think I wished you happy birthday.
I appreciate it.
Like it's just,
I know. I mean, I know how that.
People are like, "Thanks for all the happy birthday wishes," and I'm like, "Heart."
Yep.
That's what. And I'm sorry, but it's cheating. It's look. Facebook tells you when it's their birthday. Okay, so whenever that happens, it's not like you remembered. So it takes the whole specialness out of it.
Facebook and social media take the specialness out of a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we can get away from that.
That would be wonderful.
I would tell the aliens I would listen to, I Miss You. How It Feels to Be a Cowboy's damn good song, too, man. And I would get them to listen to a song that we ain't put on tape yet, and it's called Ain't Too Drunk to Drink. And, oh my goodness, it's a good song. I mean, just the title alone, and that was like
I'm down for that already, and I ain't even heard it.
We were in the studio. Kendall and Jeffrey was over there. It might have been Kendall wasn't there that time. Kendall came another day, but Jeffrey was in there, and he just got done laying vocals on the 420 song on the record, and we just got to tell him, he was like, "Ain't too drunk, and I ain't too this," and I'm like, "Ain't too drunk to drink is what you." And then, bam!
That's all it takes.
We started throwing stuff back together, and I mean, like, that's it. Like, it just comes, it hits you. And when you have a concept or an idea, take that seed and grow it. And I encourage all of you that if you love music, support the musicians that you know. If you are musicians, don't give up. Find your niche. Find what brings you happiness. You'll know it when you get there. And just don't stop, because you'll always continue to grow. And
because every national artist was a local artist at one point.
At some point. And drive across the country with the radio off.
Absolutely. And maybe 420.
Yeah, smoke some weed. I didn't say I didn't. Absolutely. I smoked weed that entire trip. I mean, I was driving to Colorado. And let me tell you something. The weed in Louisiana's black market is comparable to Colorado, if not better. Maybe not the flower, but the wax. I mean, it's so cheap here, and they're really screwing it up with the poly. This is the whole weed song talks about the government and how they just want your money, and they're trying to charge you like $100 for like for a roach, you know?
Right.
Like, people aren't gonna buy that. Like,
dude, I was growing my own pot when I was 13.
The government is trying to sell us bunk drugs.
Yeah.
And it's the worst thing about it is, if anybody knows good drugs, it's us, not the government.
Amen. All right, my brother, we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate you for coming out here, man. This has been awesome, dude. Y'all make sure to come out and get his record. I will let all of y'all know on the Devil Facebook whenever it's in the store. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, man, for having me. I hope you keep doing this, because it's a great show.